First Street?
I guess since I've only, been here for a few years, about 7 years, really just seeing, the barber shop. That's where my son, got his first haircut. Jackson's, was one of the only, one of the few soul food places, black-owned businesses. That was pretty much my memory of
I was
it.
a little girl, and I was in the car, and they had a place called the Chicken Shack. And my father went in and got us some chicken. Well, we couldn't go in there because we were too small. And that was my first memory.
That most of the people got along real good. A lot of family businesses and close-knit community.
Oldest memories, wow. Let me think about that one for a second. Playing over here in this parking lot as a kid, we used to go on the railroad tracks, which is kind of creepy, but we used to go on the railroad tracks and catch snakes, garter snakes, and bring them back home in a bucket. And I remember one time we caught probably about 20 or 30 snakes and forgot to put the lid on the bucket, and we had snakes going all over the neighborhood.
Oh my God.
We didn't have PlayStation back then, so that's what we had to do for fun.
Probably a pool room that was on the corner of, I got my map here, on the corner of Main and First Street. Main Street and First Street. And then another thing I remember is the taxi cab company. It was a Harris-Dixon taxi cab, and a lot of black people, women, came to Champaign to work at the fraternities and sororities, cooking. They were cooks on the campus in the fraternities and sororities, and they had to be at work early in the morning at 5 o'clock, so they needed some way to get there. And this taxi cab company was one of the ways or their means, because they would pick them up so that they get to work at 5 o'clock, and then they'd pick them up in the evening. My oldest? Oh, it was probably when, that's probably been 50 years ago. And we lived at 105 East Hill. And I just remember all up and down here, there was Tinsley's Cleaners and all this here. On the corner down there of First and University was Heimlicher's Drugstore. And then down the street on University was Baker's Drugs. And I was not allowed to go too much further than that, because at that time we couldn't go past University Avenue basically all the way. I went to high school at Central High, what's Central now, but was Champaign High School then. So our avenue was to go down around under the viaduct on Washington Street, or we had to go around past what was the train station at the time. But I do remember coming up here for cleaners and getting my hair done and different things like that. And my grandmother would work on the campus, and we'd meet her because she had to walk for the, and then there was a liquor store called Piccadilly's that was right around the corner from 105 East, where I live in 105 East Hill. And, and that was part of what was here. Now it's moved out and it's somewhere else. But no, I just remember that this is just where we spend a lot of our time, walking back and forth from home and living in 105 East Hill. Now, 105 East Hill is one of the only 3 houses left, right? If you go down on Hill Street, there is one on the corner that faces, I think, First Street. Then there's 2 more houses, and we lived at 105, which is, the rest of them have all been torn down. And but that's where my childhood was. And but no, I just remember this is where we spent a lot of time walking back and forth, and it brings back a lot of memories now. Yeah.